I found my wife's hidden stash of $250, $0 she secretly hid in her sister's name, then discovered she's been planning to sue me over our house for $500,000, all while secretly financing her affair with her boss. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. Honestly, if you told me a year ago that my wife would turn out to be cheating on me, I'd have laughed in your face. We seemed like the perfect couple, happy, stable, with a future planned out. We had a nice house, good jobs, and 2 kids we loved. But somewhere along the line, things started to shift. Small things at first: she'd be late coming home from work, excuses about stress, or meeting with clients. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just busy. But then I started noticing the little things: her phone ringing at odd hours, her being secretive about her texts, or suddenly taking long bathroom breaks during the day. It wasn't until I accidentally saw her phone light up with a message from Alex that things started to click. I was cleaning up after dinner one night and noticed a new number in her recent calls. I didn't think much of it until I saw the message pop up again, a flirty, suggestive exchange. It wasn't just innocent, it was clearly more than just a work flirtation. And then I noticed her behavior changing. She became more distant, more defensive when I questioned her about her whereabouts or her phone. I even caught her lying once about where she was during a supposed business trip, only to find out she'd been with her boss, Mark. What really broke me, though, was discovering the extent of her deception. I found a hidden stash of money, about $250, $0, hidden in her sister's name. She'd been secretly squirreling away cash, probably from her side hustle or some shady dealings, and was planning to keep it from me. That stash was in her sister's account, and she'd gone to great lengths to keep it hidden. She told me it was inheritance or some family money that she didn't want to share, but I knew better. She'd been planning something big, I could feel it. And then there was the house. I discovered she was planning to sue me for $500,000 over it, claiming I'd somehow mismanaged the property or that I owed her. It was all part of her game. While she was secretly financing her affair with Mark, she was also plotting her financial escape, trying to drain me dry or at least get her hands on as much as she could. It was like a punch to the gut. How could she betray me so completely? I'd been blind, trusting her blindly, and now I was left with this mess. I felt like I was in a nightmare. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was nothing but a liar and a manipulator. I was furious, devastated, and honestly a little scared. This wasn't just about infidelity, it was about betrayal on a level I never expected. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? Did I really know her at all? And more than anything, I was angry at her lies, and at myself for not seeing it coming. This was the kind of storm I never wanted to face, but here I was. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for what that would bring. I remember the moment I finally decided to confront her like it was yesterday. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I'd been piecing things together all week: her secret accounts, the hidden money, the texts with Mark. I'd gone through her phone again just to be sure, and there it was, more proof. Sexting, flirtatious messages, plans to meet up. I felt my stomach tight, like I'd swallowed a stone. I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. So I waited until she came home from her mom's appointment, which I knew was a lie. As soon as she stepped through the door, I was already standing there, my arms crossed, staring her down. She looked surprised, like she hadn't expected me to know everything, but her eyes quickly hardened. "We need to talk," I said, voice trembling but firm. Her face twisted into that familiar bitchy smirk, the one she always used when she thought she was in control. "What's this about?" she asked, feigning innocence. "I know about the affair. I found your messages, your secret stash, your plan to sue me over the house and that money you've been hiding. How long have you been lying to me? How long have you been screwing around with Mark?" She blinked, then scoffed. "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I've been working late. Mark's a client and you're just paranoid." I couldn't believe the lies coming out of her mouth. She was good at it, lying smoothly, making me doubt myself, but I wasn't buying it. "You've been planning this for a while, haven't you? The money, the house, the affair, all part of your escape plan. Well, guess what? I'm done being your fool." Her eyes flashed with anger. "You don't understand, Jason. You're just jealous and insecure. You think I'm cheating because I'm unhappy. No, I'm doing this for us, for our future." She stepped closer, voice lowering. "You're just too blind to see how much I've sacrificed." I shook my head, feeling the rage boil inside me. "You've been lying to me from day one. I found your secret stash, $250, $0 hidden in your sister's account. Do you want to explain that? Or maybe the fact that you're planning to sue me for $500,000 over the house, and all the while you're financing your affair with Mark. How long has this been going on? Weeks, months?" She looked like she was about to explode. "You don't know what you're talking about. That money is for the kid's future. The house, yes, I want what's fair, and Mark, he's just a friend. Don't lie." I cut her off. "I saw the texts, the pictures, the plans. You're sleeping with him. You've been lying to my face this whole time." She finally cracked, her face twisting with rage. "You think I'd cheat on you after everything I've done? You're just a jealous idiot who can't see what's really happening. You're a terrible husband, Jason. You're not enough for me anymore." That was it. The anger and heartbreak collided. I felt my hands trembling, but I managed to keep my voice steady. "You're done. I want you out of this house. You're not just cheating, you're stealing from me, planning your escape and lying every step of the way. I don't know who you are anymore." She stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her, but I stayed there, staring at the chaos she left behind. Her lies, her secrets, the betrayal. I felt numb, like I'd been punched in the gut. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was now a stranger. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the betrayal or the realization that I'd been blind all along. But I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without a fight. I had to figure out my next move, and fast. After that confrontation, everything changed. I felt like I was walking through a fog, trying to process what I'd just heard and seen. The shock was still fresh, but beneath that, a rising tide of anger started to take over. I knew I had to act fast if I wanted to protect what was mine: my house, my money, my dignity. The first thing I did was dig into that hidden stash of cash. It was buried deep, tucked away in her sister's account, but I found it. All $250, $0 of it. I couldn't believe she'd gone to such lengths, lying, hiding, sneaking around. That money was supposed to be for our future, or so I thought. Turns out, had other plans. I sat down that night, staring at the bank statement on my laptop, trying to understand everything. How could she be so manipulative? She convinced me she was working late, that she was stressed, that she was just trying to make a better life for us. And meanwhile, she was secretly hoarding cash, financing her affair, and plotting to take the house from under me. The more I looked, the more I realized how deep her deception went. She'd been planning her escape for months, maybe longer. The next day, I decided I needed legal advice. I reached out to a lawyer, a guy named Mark who specialized in family law. I wanted to know my options: how to protect the house, how to get the truth about that money, and what I could do if she tried to sue me. The lawyer listened carefully, then told me that her plans to sue over the house for $500,000 were serious. She was trying to set herself up to walk away with as much as she could, and the hidden cash only made her more confident she could pull this off. I also found out that she'd been secretly financing her affair with Mark. I caught her in so many lies, but this was the final straw. I had proof: bank transfers, emails, even some receipts from expensive dinners and hotel stays. She'd been funneling money into her side relationship, probably using that stash or the house money. It was like she was building her own little empire behind my back, all while pretending to be the perfect wife. By the end of that week, I was furious but also numb. I'd always believed in honesty, trust, and loyalty. Turns out, I'd been living with a master manipulator. I started to see her for what she really was: a bitchy, selfish woman who only cared about herself. I couldn't stay in this marriage, not with her planning to screw me over and cheat on me with her boss. I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't let her walk away with everything I worked for, especially not her sneaky little stash or her plans to sue me for $500,000. That's when I started putting my plan together. I needed to be smart, to stay one step ahead. I didn't want to just fight her in court. I wanted to expose her lies, her betrayal, everything. I was going to make sure she paid for what she did, one way or another. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious, and I was determined to fight back. I'd been naive, trusting her blindly, but now I knew the truth, and I was ready to do whatever it took to take back control of my life. Over the next few days, I threw myself into gathering everything I could. I knew I had to have concrete proof of her plans, proof that would stand up in court and show her true colors. I dug through her emails, her phone, her bank accounts. I wanted to see exactly how deep her deception went. That stash of cash wasn't just sitting there for no reason. It was part of her entire scheme. I found transfer records that showed her funneling money into accounts linked to her sister, and I discovered she'd even set up a fake business to hide some funds. It was clear she'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. I also started talking to a private investigator. I needed someone who could verify her affair with Mark. I wanted photos, video, anything that could prove her infidelity beyond a doubt. The investigator was expensive, but I didn't care. I had to protect myself. Sure enough, after a few days, he came back with some shocking evidence. Photos of and Mark together, sneaking into a hotel late at night. They'd been meeting up regularly, and it was obvious they were more than just colleagues. Seeing those pictures hit me like a punch in the stomach. I'd suspected it, but seeing it with my own eyes made it real. Meanwhile, I also reached out to a divorce lawyer. It was time to get serious about splitting everything up. I wanted to ensure she wouldn't get her hands on my house or my savings. The lawyer told me I needed to prepare for a nasty battle, especially since she was planning to sue me for half the house and had that hidden money. She'd also be trying to claim she deserved more because she was entitled. But I knew I had the evidence to counter her claims. I was trying to stay calm, but inside I was boiling. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? One night I decided I had to confront her again, this time with everything I'd uncovered. I called her at work and told her I wanted to meet. When she showed up looking annoyed, I laid it all out: photos, bank records, her secret stash, the evidence of her affair. I told her I knew everything, that I wasn't going to let her take what was mine without a fight. Her reaction was classic: denials, accusations, trying to turn it around on me. She said I was paranoid, that I was just jealous, that she'd never cheat on me. But I had the proof, and I made sure she knew it. She got furious, started yelling, calling me crazy, saying I was ruining everything and that I was controlling. She even tried to manipulate me, telling me I was overreacting and that I was the one who'd betrayed her by going behind her back. But I wasn't falling for it. I knew her tricks. I told her she could keep lying, but I was done being her fool. I told her I was going to do everything I could to protect myself, my house, my money, my reputation. I was ready to fight her in court if I had to. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all. Her lies, her betrayal, how she'd been planning this for so long. It hurt to realize I'd been blind, so blind that I missed all the signs. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew what I had to do now. I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything, especially not the money she'd hidden or the house she was trying to take. I was angry, yes, but I was also determined. This was the beginning of the fight for my life, and I was ready to see it through. The legal battle was brutal from the start, and her lawyer tried every trick in the book, filing motions, claiming she was entitled to more because she'd sacrificed so much, and insisting that her affair was just a misunderstanding. But I had the evidence, and I made sure to keep everything tight. I hired my own lawyer, someone sharp, who knew how to play hardball, and we began building our case. I also learned that her plan to sue me for half the house was based on false claims. She tried to argue that I mismanaged the property, that I'd made poor investments, and that I'd been neglectful. But I had all the receipts, mortgage statements, maintenance records, even emails where I discussed improvements. I turned it all over to my lawyer. We also uncovered her secret accounts, more hidden money that she'd been funneling into offshore accounts, trying to keep me in the dark. Meanwhile, the evidence of her affair with Mark was irrefutable. The photos, the hotel receipts, the texts, everything painted her as the liar she was. I made copies of everything, ready to expose her in court. I also hired a forensic accountant to trace her finances. The more I dug, the more I realized how much she'd been hiding. That stash of $250, $0. It was just the tip of the iceberg. She'd been planning this for a long time, and her financial deception ran deep. The most intense moment came during a court hearing. The lawyer argued that she deserved a larger share of the house, citing emotional hardship and her sacrifices. I stood there feeling a mixture of rage and resolve and presented all my evidence. The judge listened carefully, flipping through documents, photos, and testimonies. When it was my turn, I told the court about her lies, her secret money, her cheating, and her plans to leave me with nothing. I argued that she had no right to claim half of what I worked for, especially given her betrayal. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor on most counts. She was ordered to pay back the money she'd stolen or hidden, and her claim to the house was significantly reduced. She looked furious, but she couldn't deny the evidence anymore. Her facade was crumbling. I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief that I was finally getting some justice, anger that it had taken so much pain to get here. But even after the court ruling, the damage was done. Was furious, and she refused to accept defeat easily. She threatened to appeal, to make my life miserable, and to fight me in every way possible. I knew that this wasn't over yet, but I also knew I had won some battles. I had exposed her, protected what was mine, and started to rebuild my life. As much as I hated what she'd done, I realized I'd learned a lot about trust, deception, and resilience. Moving forward, I promised myself I'd never be blind to the signs again, and that I'd never let someone betray me like that again. In the aftermath of everything, I felt like I'd been through a war. The house was quieter now, emptier somehow, but at least it was mine again. I moved out of the bedroom she'd once called ours and set up a new space for myself, something I could finally call my own without her shadow looming over it. The money she'd hidden, the house, the lies, they all left a bitter taste, but I was learning to live with it. Trust had been shattered, and I knew I'd never see things the same way again. Looking back, I realized I'd been naive, trusting far too much. She was manipulative, selfish, and completely willing to destroy what we had for her own gain. Her lies, her affair, her schemes, they all revealed a side of her I never knew existed. The pain was real, but so was the clarity. I saw her for what she was, a liar and a thief. And I saw myself, someone who had been too trusting, too blind, but who was now stronger because of it. This experience has changed me, no doubt. I've become more cautious about who I trust, more aware of the signs of betrayal, and more determined to protect myself and my children. I learned that money isn't just currency, it's security, trust, and sometimes a weapon. I also learned that revenge isn't about petty payback. It's about standing up for yourself and making things right. I didn't want her to walk away with everything, and I made sure that didn't happen. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'll say this: don't ignore the red flags. Trust your instincts, gather evidence, and don't be afraid to fight for what's yours. The pain of betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches valuable lessons about resilience, about boundaries, and about the importance of self-worth. You might feel broken for a while, but eventually you'll find your footing again. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I'm focusing on my kids, my career, and my own peace of mind. The scars will always be there, but they remind me of what I've survived and how much stronger I am now. I don't regret standing up for myself, and I don't regret fighting for my future. Sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best lessons, and in the end, I know I'll come out of this wiser, tougher, and more prepared for whatever life throws next.